Is it working now? It should be working now. Please tell me if it's working or not. Just type anything, type a 1 or just any form of anything. I'm just making sure this is working. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, amazing, amazing. Okay, brilliant. I'm using like a new system today, and I've not used it before, so I'm just making sure that it's working. Okay, just refreshed. Perfect. Okay, brilliant, everybody. Oh, thank you. My glasses, they're just Specsavers, nothing special. I hope you're all feeling okay. I'm so grateful for the fact that you've actually joined tonight when I know that the exam is very imminent. So, anxiety will be high and you're probably well into your revision by now. So I really appreciate you joining tonight. And I appreciate if you don't want to stay on for too long, because I know that it's imperative to be getting a good night's sleep and things like that. So totally appreciate if, however long you want to stay on for. But really want to hear your comments and things like that, and just get your kind of feedback on what you'd like to get from tonight. So does anybody, I guess we all struggle from a level, we all have a level of anxiety, right? Because that's in our nature. Fight or flight is that's ingrained in us, anxiety and that fight or flight response. But who here struggles horrendously with anxiety? Just literally type in kind of your struggles or your experience with your anxiety and things like that. Please just give me some feedback. I'm going to keep watching the comments just to see what you're all saying, because I'll kind of give you a lowdown of all of my kind of experience and how bad my anxiety level is, especially surrounded by the exam. So I started my pre-reg very, very long ago, in 2016. Had a very bad pre-reg year, and that knocked my confidence anyway. So I was already struggling a lot with imposter syndrome, like is it Z, like you've just said. And then I had my exam booked. I cancelled it because I was so nervous. I drove to the car park, started crying, had a meltdown, cancelled my exam, went back to square one. I started revising again, and then it came around to September. I drove to the exam hall again, was shaking, crying in the car park, absolutely had a meltdown, was on the phone to my mom, and I quit again. So that was the second time that I didn't do the exam, and now I had another year to wait. So again, I was revising for another year, and I got a job outside of pharmacy. I got a job in the pharma industry, and then I booked my exam again. I actually did sit it that next year round. The only way I managed to do it was just, I had my mom on the phone right up until the moment I stepped kind of into the it was in the big NEC, which is in Birmingham, and she was just telling me do not leave, do not leave, do not leave. So I went in. I was crying when I was starting my paper because I was shaking and everything. I did fail by a couple of marks, but I did manage to do it once. And then my nerves and just my sense of confidence just completely fell. I didn't do the exam for 4 years because I just felt like I couldn't do it. I was just too frightened. And the fear, do you know what it is? It's fear of failure. Because for me, one of my biggest insecurities is failing and not being enough. And that's the worst thing for me is failure. So I feel like if you just avoid something, then you avoid that fear, basically. So I fast forward a couple of years, I joined the course with Marvin, and I was going to do the exam in March. Anxiety got the better of me. I cancelled it. Same happened in July. I cancelled the exam again. So I literally I've tried to do this exam like about 5 times because I just let it get the better of me, and I could not do it until obviously last year I did pass and it happened. But it took me, I mean, when I look back at all the receipts from the GPhC, there's honestly about 6 times in which I've tried to do this exam because of just sheer fear and anxiety, just literally got the better of me. And I kind of really want to get your feedback at the minute and just ask me like any questions, because one thing that when I actually did do the exam and I passed, what kind of got me through was knowing everybody in that room is like going through the same thing as you. Like, I know that we're all sitting our own papers, but when I get on the room, I looked around me and I was like, look, we're all in this together. And I just kind of realized that when I got in that exam room, every single person here is going through the exact same thing as me. I'm not on my own. Everybody's here. So you may as well try, because they're always that what is meant to be will be. I always think that as well, and that helps me deal with things when things don't go right. And I think another reason as to why I put the exam off for so long is because when things don't go right for me, I react so badly because I've got this immense fear of failure. So it's like if I avoid doing something, then that just kind of stops the fear and stops the anxiety to a point, even though it's always hanging over me. Like the exam was looming over me for years and years and years. And the more I put it off, the worse and worse and worse it got, basically. The worse the anxiety got. From when I actually passed my exam, I had a 4-year gap. So it wasn't even 2 years, it was 4 years. But the one thing that helped me, and if you're on the course with Marvin, the Pre-Reg Shortcuts course, is the support that I had from everybody else. So I made so many friends from the course, and we just got through it kind of together. And it helps me to be surrounded by other people, speaking to people. Stuff like this that you're listening to now really helped me and gave me a lot of confidence, because we're all going through this together and we're not on our own. I think sometimes, especially if you do community pharmacy, I mean, sometimes in hospital, when you do your pre-reg, you've got a couple of other pre-regs, and you've got some togetherness with other pre-regs. But in community, sometimes you're a bit in silo because you're kind of on your own, and that's really daunting, and something that I really, really struggled with, basically. But yeah, that's kind of just to answer your question, Z. That was how I got through it, just by having the support of people on the course. I wouldn't have gotten through without it. Because as well, I think I had people rooting for me, which sometimes often is worse. When you like your family members are rooting for you, or your friends are like rooting for you, you don't want to let them down as well. And it was that fear of letting people down that got to me as well. So many factors like contributed to the anxiety that I have about this exam. I've got a lot of anxiety about life in general, but fear of failure is definitely played it into it. Yeah, there's so much pressure from other people, even though they don't mean to put pressure on you. There is pressure because you don't want to let people down. You want to open that paper and it say pass, because you want other people to be happy for you. And that's something that really that helped me, but also got to me. So yeah, it is a lot of pressure. I mean, how anybody can say that this exam is not difficult when you've got your whole 4 years of university, 1 year of pre-reg riding on 2 papers is horrendous. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, there was many prescriptions for diazepam coming my way. And I'm not advocating taking benzodiazepines or anything like that, but it's something that helped me along the way. Definitely sometimes 2 milligram of diazepam just to kind of control me was sometimes what I needed. And if you need a pharmacological intervention to help you through this, then that's absolutely fine, because it's hard. So is it Cayman? Just how did you? I'll put these comments on the screen actually. How did you control your nerves on the day or the night before the exam? So this is really hard, and as much as everybody says to you, you know, you need to get a good night's sleep, you need to eat well and things like that, you're not going to get a good night's sleep. Well, some people will, but I did try and go to bed early because I knew that I'd be lying in bed awake for a bit. So I went to bed at around like 9-10 o'clock so that I could actually get into bed and like make myself tired by being in the bed. And I mean, it probably isn't the same for other people. I don't know people's kind of personal circumstances, but I had a lot of support kind of like from my husband, from my mom, from my nana and granddad, people like that just kept telling me, you know, like, we're behind you. And I was leaning on a lot of people for support because I need that. I kind of need that. And also it helped me to know, and I think a lot of people, and it's totally normal, you think that this exam is the be all and end all of your life. Like, you literally think being a pharmacist is like the only thing I'm geared up for. And because you spend your life in a bubble of pharmacy, and you literally think, if I don't pass, that's it. That's the end. Do you know what I mean? I had that mentality. I don't know about you guys. You literally, you put so much pressure on it because it's all you've ever done is pharmacy, right? But because I had jobs, I got a job kind of outside of working in a pharmacy. It helped me to know that if I don't pass, or if the exam doesn't work out, then there's other career options out there. There's so many other career options. And I'm going to be doing some sessions on other options rather than, community and hospital pharmacy, because there's so much out there that people don't know about. And for people, say, who have failed 3 times, then, you think that it's over, it's done, but it's not. It's totally not true at all. There's so many jobs in the pharmaceutical industry that you can easily like obtain because you have an MPharm, that no one can ever take that degree away from you, and that degree is golden in the pharmaceutical industry. So I really want to kind of put that message across. I know it's not something that you should be thinking going into an exam, or if it doesn't work out, then there's other options, but I think it helps to know that if it doesn't work out, it's going to be okay. There are so many jobs out there. Let's have a look at this comment. I really appreciate your interaction, by the way. Keep it up. I don't want to keep just talking at you. I think the biggest thing for me is that the past 2 years, all uni exams are open book online because COVID, and this is the first closed book exam since that period, I guess. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? We've been thrown into a completely unknown situation that we're not used to, and it's kind of unfair that we're having to deal with this in an unorthodox way, in a completely different way. So I think sometimes, like, what happened to me, like before the exam, before the night, I'd be like, I can't remember anything. I literally couldn't remember a thing. Like, things like what happens to me in an exam, like for the first couple of minutes, I'd say for the first 10 minutes, my brain is like, I don't even know how you'd explain it, like glue. I can't think, like my head's foggy as anything because I'm so worked up that I can't focus. So for the first 10 minutes of an exam, I'm like, I'm breathing heavily, I'm in a right state. But especially in the clinical paper, and this will happen, as you start to go through the paper, you calm down. You will calm down. And as you start, things come up that and you think, actually, I can do this. And as you go along the paper, you'll realize, it's okay. The first couple of minutes of an exam are always awful because you've got that long paper ahead of you and your nerves are just through the roof. But as you go along the paper, you begin to settle into it. And I did. And this is coming from somebody who literally, didn't do the exams like 5 times because I can't cope with the stress. And I mean it when I say, when you start going through the paper, you'll calm down. But I think, I agree with you. Is it Z? Like the paper it's not normal. It's not a normal situation. Exams are so unfair anyway, because it's not a normal scenario. You don't work in a pharmacy and get tested. If you need the BNF, you'll use it. It's a very unrealistic scenario, an exam. But just think to yourself, and this is another thing, you wouldn't be here doing this now if you didn't have the academic capability or the mental capability, because you do exams at uni. You are prepared for this day, but it just feels horrendous because there's so much riding on it. And that just takes over, and you begin to think, like, I don't know anything and I can't do it. I certainly did, for me anyway. I doubted myself so much, because that's what this exam does to you, because it's such a large scope of content that you need to know. Well, you don't need to know it all, and just remember that as well. You don't have to get every single question right. You can get, kind of like a considerable amount wrong and still pass. So remember that as well. Like, try and take some of these positive messages like into the exam. And as well, like, another thing that I did, for example, the paracetamol and the ibuprofen doses, is because there will be 2 or more questions plus in the clinical paper. Once I got into the exam, I just quickly wrote them down, like, straight away, and I just had them like on paper. Let me just have a look at some other comments. Sorry. Let's put this one on screen. Thank you, by the way, for your comments. How did you find the exam compared to mocks? There's this ongoing anxiety around mocks, because mocks are designed to be hard, and the mocks, honestly, I found a lot harder than the actual paper, because, and we get, the thing is, right, there's so many mocks out there, and I got so stressed that I wasn't doing all these mocks, and I just thought, oh my goodness me, I haven't done all these mocks. I could be missing things here. I could be missing vital points of information. But what you've got to remember is these mocks are not the real thing. They're written like by universities and things, so they're not. There's no guarantee that any of that stuff will even come up. And I found the mocks really hard. I didn't do that many clinical mocks. And I'm not saying this strategy is the best one at all. It's whatever works for you. But I did not focus on the clinical mocks at all. I did a couple just to test, like, for timing and stuff like that. I didn't really focus on the content because it was stressing me out when I didn't know the answers. So please don't focus on mocks at all. Somebody says here, I hope you don't mind me sharing your comments, by the way. Sitting my 3rd attempt, I can't stop stressing. This is, if I'm not going to lie, if I was in your shoes, I would be absolutely stressed to anything as well. I would be exactly the same. But I just want you to remember, and I'm wishing you all the best of luck, and just remember that you're here because you can do it. And if I can do this exam, anyone can, honestly, with all of the struggle that I had. If I can do it, anyone can. But just remember, if it doesn't work out, and I'm not saying that it won't, because everything happens for a reason, and you're here because you can do it. But there's so many other career options out there, and like I've said, I'm going to do some sessions about that, because I really want to get the message out there that there's so much more out there than community and hospital pharmacy, honestly. I feel more stressed this time because of my 2nd attempt, knowing how clinical was in November and knowing how I felt when results came out. I think there's more worry and anxiety that comes knowing you're on your 2nd attempt, your 3rd attempt. Well, obviously, because it's like one last trial. If I fail the 2nd, then I've only got one chance and things like that. It's the fact that there's only 3 attempts. Well, you can, like Payal has done a session about how she managed to get attempts back. There's ways that you can do things, but that's very anxiety inducing. The whole thing is stressful anyway, never mind thinking, oh, if this is the last chance, this is the 2nd to last chance. It's awful. But I just really want you to know that there's so much more out there. I don't work in a pharmacy, I work in industry, and I absolutely love it. It's amazing. So just know that if it doesn't work out, and I'm not saying that it won't, because you're here for a reason, and the fact that you're here means you can do it. But just know that. I hope that's helpful. I really feel for everybody, honestly. This is why I wanted to talk to you, because I honestly can put myself in your shoes right now, and I can feel what it feels like. How did you study in the week leading up to the exam? So I think I kind of was really like methodical about my days. So I kind of split it up into like categories. So in the mornings, for example, I'd revise or go through a certain topic. So like the high weighted chapters, I'd select a few therapeutic areas in the high weighted chapters, and just test myself reading through it, answering questions in my head, going through it with another person. I teamed up with another person, and we just fired questions at each other and just tested each other. And then like in the afternoon, I'd do like some calculations and things. So I would kind of be a bit methodical so that I felt organized. And that helped me as well, having a little bit of structure rather than just flapping around all day. Yeah, that helped me. See what other people are saying. Do we get a pen and paper for masters? Yes, we do. So they're doing it in a different centre. They're doing it in a different centre to when I did it, but you'll definitely get a pen and paper. I think it will be on a whiteboard, so you can wipe it with a whiteboard pen. That's what we had, but you definitely will get that. Do not worry about that. Yeah, third attempt. Honestly, mine was the second attempt, so I feel you. Honestly, I really do. Sorry, I'm just having a look at these comments. Oh, where's it gone? A bit off topic. Sorry, let's have a look. No, so I went into industry like after my pre-reg, because of all the kind of, my pre-reg year was extended because of a lot of problems that were in the pharmacy. So it was extended, and then I left community because I was so done in by the whole experience. I worked in a community pharmacy before my pre-reg for 5 years. I worked in one since I was 16 until I was 21. Then I did my pre-reg in community, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I just completely left. Yeah. Let's just have a look what everyone's saying. So yeah, you can still be registered. So I am registered. So you can still be registered. Yeah, if you work in industry. Oops. I'm doubting if I should sit left couch too late. Okay, so yeah, this is a really good point. Being fit to sit. If it depends, like if you really feel in your heart and in your mind that you will waste an attempt by doing it, depending on how there's a time scale. There's I think it's 8 years since you graduated. But if you really feel that you are not ready and you could potentially waste an attempt, then by all means, like, delay it. But just make sure that if you do that, you keep up like the momentum until the next sitting. That's all I would say. Don't drop the momentum. Like, keep practicing. Don't think, oh, I've got another couple of months. Kind of take your foot off the gas. Just keep going as if the exam's tomorrow. But if you really feel in your mind that you're not ready, then definitely don't stress yourself and sit and then waste an attempt is what I would say. Just practice 20 questions a day, but clinical, same. Clinical is very daunting because there's so much to cover. But remember, be strategic about it. Low weighted chapters are low weighted. So if you are worried about content and how much you've covered, then just be strategic. just be strategic about it, and make sure you know your high weighted, high risk drugs, medium chapters. I think so respiratory is definitely one to know about, because that's a medium chapter. And then I think in low weighted, the chapters that kind of spring to mind are like musculoskeletal. They do ask about kind of gout and things like that. So out of the low weighted chapters, definitely have a look over gout. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments. Do we need to learn ranges and blood results, or will they be given in the exam? I was aware, I had a general awareness about ranges, but I didn't learn any ranges. No, it's hard, so I can't like guarantee anything, because I don't want to, give false information. But from what I can remember, they are given in the exam. Sorry, I'm just having a look at your comments. No, I think I have a chance of just 50-50. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, I got into the habit of putting the exam off because I was just so frightened, and I just put it off and off and off. And if you think there's a risk of doing that, and if it is your first attempt, then by all means go for it, because you never know. And if it is your first attempt, you've still got 2 more. Do you know what I mean? So if you do feel ready, then go for it. But if you know in your mind, I am 100% not ready, I think with doing mocks and judging your ability on mocks is difficult, because mocks are completely they're not the real thing. I think calculations is slightly different, because there's only so many kind of calculations questions they can ask, because you have like a they have the, what's it called, like the types of calculations questions, like what they are, because you're given that in like the syllabus. The syllabus. So there's only so much you can kind of ask. So I think if calculations, if you're not getting like in the 20s, for example, I'm not saying you need to get into like the 30s, because mocks are harder. Do they bear that in mind? Then maybe you need to think, oh, maybe I could do with a bit more practice or something. Sorry, I don't want to miss anyone's comments. Oh, this is interesting. How did you find the MPharm degree? Is the GP exam at the end? Oh, you're hoping to do pharmacy. That's amazing. Welcome. The MPharm, I found it pretty difficult, to be honest. I'm one of those people that have to work really hard. Things don't just come naturally to me, so I found it tough. The exam is at the end of a pre-reg year, which you do a year working. But yeah, good luck. Okay. I'm so worried about maths as naturally not that great. I've been practicing, but sometimes questions are difficult. Yeah, I completely relate to you. Is it Cayman? I think that's how you say your name. I relate to that. Calculations was my weakest, and I did the silly thing of putting it off. I focused so much on clinical, because I put calculations off till not like the last minute, obviously, because I did do a lot of work on them, but I should have started a lot sooner, because then I would have realized a trend in the ones I was getting wrong. Because the more and more you do, you'll start to realize there's some ones on the syllabus that your least preferable calculations. For example, like dilutions, I absolutely can't stand them. So I would focus kind of on those on dilutions questions in particular. So I tried to be strategic about the calculations I was practicing. But remember, there's going to be some calculations questions in there that are like the dosage ones, where you kind of like know how many you have to give the patient, and you get a dosing schedule. So ones like that are, they're decent. So you can pick up a lot of marks on the decent questions. But I struggle with calculations. Yeah, honestly, I really do. I just basically had to practice and practice and practice and practice until I just couldn't practice any longer. That's my only tip with calculations, unfortunately. I have nothing better than that, just to practice. And don't be scared. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Z. Yeah, mocks are a really are not an accurate representation of your knowledge, I don't think. I don't want to um, have a negative opinion on mocks at all, because I think they're great to test yourself. Testing yourself is a really good form of revision, like active recall and stuff. But they are harder, and some of those questions might not even come up. So it's hard to judge where you are in terms of revision on mocks. Just going to go on to here. Did you leave EMC questions to the end? How do you think we should approach them? So in November, and I think in previous exams as well, I'm not too sure about like the structure of those ones, but the EMC ones or the SPC questions came right at the end of the paper, and I basically was taking quite a lot of time, answering the clinical questions, and then there were quite a lot of SPC ones at the end, and it kind of worried me because they're the ones that kind of take their time. But I mean, I've always been in two minds about kind of looking through the paper and answering questions and leaving ones behind, because I found the more and more I left to go back to, then I had a build up of questions that I still needed to go back to. So I kind of tried to answer as many as I could, and then you can flag them, which is a really good technique. Just I would flag ones which I wasn't sure about, but I put an answer in there, because it's not negatively marked. So if you put an answer and it's wrong, then it's wrong. It's not like you've lost any marks. So I would put an answer in there, what you think it could be, flag it, and then if you have time, come back to it. Because sometimes I thought, I'm going to have time, but obviously as the exam goes and time goes by, I was running out of time, and at least I'd put an answer in there. So yeah. So about the 4-year window. So because of COVID and things, the window was like extended. And I think if people have certain circumstances, the window is larger. It's all kind of dependent on your circumstances and COVID and all these crazy external factors out of our control. Ooh, what calculation blocks would you recommend to practice in the week leading to the exam? Okay, so it's hard to mention ones really, because I kind of did quite a few, but I particularly like the ones that had explanations in them. Some calculations papers just give you the answer, what it should be, and that's it. But I really like the ones that give you like reasons and a working and a method, because sometimes I'd get an answer and I wouldn't have a clue how to actually get there. So I would focus on the papers, that have those explanations in them, because that is definitely best for me, because then I could see where I was going wrong and have a look at the method and things, rather than just stressing. Because sometimes when you don't have it working out, then you think, well, how do I even get that answer? And that's anxiety inducing as it is. So I would only really do the papers that had explanations on them. By the way, I appreciate it's 33 people on here. I really appreciate that. I know the exam is really close, so I appreciate the fact that you're here, and I hope you're getting a benefit from this. Yeah, dilutions are horrendous. I had to practice them until like my hand was falling off when I was writing, because I just find them really hard. What helped me is, like, I don't know how you guys do it, but I would draw out like the flasks, or I would like draw out what was being asked of me. So I'd literally draw out a flask of the intermediate, the initial concentration, the intermediate, and the end concentration, so I could see what was actually like happening. Because sometimes they give you a lot of wording and you can't actually ascertain what they actually want from you. So I would do myself a little diagram, probably in the worst drawing ever, but it would help me visualize like what what was going on and what they were actually asking. So that really helped me. Oh, I'm going to answer this question, but so basically, obviously, this is some like controversy that's always going around, and I listened to this podcast, or I don't know if it was a podcast, but it was somebody talking not from the RPS but from a similar kind of function like that, speaking about this particular mindset that people have. I mean, I only ever did I don't know, I can't confirm it at all, but it's just whenever you're ready to do it, you know, honestly. It's just like whenever you're ready. I don't think correlation necessarily means like causation. So I don't necessarily think that because sometimes the grade bound, like the less people pass in September or like November, for example, it means that the exams are harder. Perhaps it's just like the cohort of people sitting on that day were less prepared. I don't know. I don't have a kind of opinion on it, because I try not to, because you can't like confirm it, basically. I'm sorry if that was not a well worded answer, but yeah. Oops. How did you revise the day before the exam? I mean, the day before the exam should really, I mean, by all means, like revise, but I wouldn't revise a lot, because if there's things that you don't know, you're just going to completely stress yourself out. And, you know, when you're so nervous, your brain gets a bit foggy anyway. So you're going to then think, oh, I don't know this, I don't know this. So the day before the exam, just maybe skim over the high weighted chapters or something like that as best you can, and then just make sure you have something good to eat and a good night's sleep, because the exam is almost like a test of stamina, isn't it? Because it's a pretty long day, so you're going to need like a lot of energy. And definitely make lunch for in the break, or make some food and take it with you, because I remember not being able to like find anywhere to get some food, and I was starving. So yeah, have some food for the interim period between the two papers, definitely. I think I've like may have answered all the questions. I'm just like looking through them. But yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of continue talking about like kind of anxiety and stuff. Like, yeah, like I said, my struggle with it hasn't just been for the exam. It's been like almost like lifelong. It's something that's affected me since I was a very kind of young child, and especially but exams have always been extremely anxiety inducing for me. And I think kind of looking back over the years as to why that is mainly, I think it's the fear of failure and the fear of letting people down. So actually knowing that and knowing where the root cause of the anxiety comes from, I kind of worked through that and would realize that, you know, failing is not the worst thing in the world. It doesn't dedicate your life. There's other things out there than this exam, you know. And having that mindset when I went in there, and not, I catastrophize. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I've got catastrophic thinking. So I always think if I don't do this, then the worst thing in the world's going to happen. And that's what I would think about the exam. So it would help me to realize that, you know, if I don't pass, then it's not meant to be. Basically, it's not what I'm meant to do. And by coming out of community pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, made me realize that there's so much more out there, and this exam is not your life. It's, you know, it's just an exam. God, that sounds awful saying that, because it's like, it's not just an exam. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not, it's massive. But I always think to myself as well, like, look at how many people do pass. So many people, and you can be in that cohort. Do you know what I mean? It's not impossible, because a lot of people do pass, and that helps me as well. And just having a bit of self-belief, which took me a long time to gain, but having help from making friends on the course and family members and stuff just really helped me like along the way, I'd say. But still, even with all those things, like on the day I was still a mess. I came out of calculations paper, cried, went on the phone to my mum, my grandparents, wasn't going to go back in for the second paper. It was them that basically said to me, just go and do it, because you never know what's going to happen. And then, it all worked out. But in the end, but it was like the support from other people that kind of got me through, really. But honestly, if I can do it, somebody who like struggles to this kind of extreme, then just know that you can. And I thoroughly believe that you can, that you will, because you have the dedication. Like, you wouldn't be sitting on this call now at nearly 10 o'clock wanting to better yourself and better your exam techniques, or you wouldn't be here today if you didn't mean it. You know what I mean? So you must have worked hard to get to this point. So just believe in yourself. And I know it's like, you must think, oh, it's easy enough for you to say that because you've passed, but I didn't believe in myself for many years, and that's what led me to doing what I did. Withdrawing so many times and getting into a mess. But eventually it worked out. And what is meant to be will be, and I do believe that. Is there any more kind of questions and things? I am just really conscious of time, because I understand that the exam is so close and you guys need to be kind of going to sleep at like a sensible time, because all these kind of things are really good for your mental health. And actually, taking care of yourself is so important. Sorry, I'm just going to plug my laptop is just dying, so I'm just going to quickly plug it in. Apologies, I should have done this before. I think that's on. Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, there we go. I didn't want to just lose you, but I think just knowing that you are here now doing this because you can do it is such a big positive, like, take home message from this. And just knowing how good you are, and the fact that you've done an M-Pharm degree, the fact you've done a pre-reg and you've passed a pre-reg is like literally insane. It's amazing. And a lot of people couldn't do this. Otherwise, if it was easy, like, everyone could do it. But just know that where you are now at this very point means that you're capable of this. So I really hope that speaks to you, and you hear me when I'm saying that. And I really hope you don't think, oh, it's all right for you to say, kind of thing, because you've done it. But honestly, I've been in your shoes. I've been in your shoes probably 6 times, because I've tried to do the exam so many times, but my brain and my thoughts just got the better of me, and things. And I should have realized this years ago. If I had somebody saying all this stuff to me then, I think that I would have not done what I did and kept withdrawing. I think if I had somebody saying these things to me, then it might have been a different story. But this is why I joined Pre-Reg Shortcuts, and I had the support from Marvin, Umar, and the whole group, and knowing that we're all in it together, that pushed me to not back out and to believe in myself. So yeah, I know a couple of people are like dropping off now. I can see the numbers like coming down. So I don't know how long kind of we want to stay on for, but just give me, is there any, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if there's any more questions now, and then if not, I will kind of say a couple of last words, and then we will draw this to a close. So if there's anything anybody else just wants to say, or then just please put them on screen. I'll just say a couple more words. I'll check the comments. If there's no more comments, then we'll end this session. But yeah, so a couple of take-home messages. Just realize that you're here now because you can do it. Nobody would be entering the exam that couldn't do it. That it's designed to be passed, even though it is hard and difficult. The exam is not a trick. the GPhC don't make the exams so hard that it was meant to be for a day one pharmacist, right? So they're not going to ask specialist questions at all. There's no trickery in there. Like there's no questions that are ambiguous. If there are ambiguous questions, that there's a big range of answers that ends up coming out of that exam, then questions will be, removed and things like that. So do bear that in mind as well. And just when you're in that room, just remember that you're all in it together. We're all going through the same thing, and you're not on your own. And just kind of remember that this exam doesn't predict the rest of your life. There's so much more out there. I want to do some sessions on that, because I think it's really important to remember and not to get too caught up in the sheer importance of this exam, and just really make sure that you check in on, if you've got any friends doing the exam, check in on them, because everybody is really feeling the pressure right now. Check in on other people, ask them how they're feeling. They probably will say, I feel terrible, and you'll say, I feel terrible too. And then a problem shared is a problem halved, right? So, you can sort of back each other up and everything. And I really am wishing you all the very, very best. And I mean it when I say it. If I can do this, then so can you. And I'm just wishing you all the very, very best. On the day, my thoughts are going to be with every single person doing that exam. It always is. Every exam that comes along, I'm always thinking of everybody, putting myself in your shoes. And thank you everybody for tonight. Wishing you all the best of luck, sending all my thoughts your way, and have a good rest of your evening. Thank you.